Welcome to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, a podcast celebrating unconventional choices and asking curious questions through the lens of a happy, child-free life. Every week, I chat with experts on today's most interesting topics, inspiring us to think differently, live intentionally, and find fulfillment on our terms. Whether you're child-free or seeking a space where parenthood isn't part of the conversation, you are welcome here. It's not about comparison, it's about possibility. Let's get curious together. It is hard not to notice the beauty industry, whether you're someone who relishes the ritual of morning makeup and regular hair appointments, or you're someone who prefers to keep things low key. I want to know how we are all feeling about the world of beauty and how we can incorporate these practices as part of our own self expression. Today's guest, Jess Elbaum, is a celebrity hairstylist and makeup artist who spent over 20 years helping people get camera ready on some of TV's most recognizable sets. From Modern Family to Entourage, The Conners, Griselda, and more, Jess has worked with actors and personalities across every genre. She's also been featured in Allure, Marie Claire, and Elle, and now serves as the national celebrity artist for Sisley Paris. In this conversation, we'll explore how beauty relates to our self expression and how our relationship to hair, makeup, and celebrity changes as we grow. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, just reflecting on that introduction, I feel like this world of hair, makeup, celebrity, being a celebrity artist already sounds so glamorous. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background, your story, really what drew you to this world of being a beauty professional?
Yes, thank you so much. So I come from a very small town in rural Indiana, like very small country town. And I always was interested in fashion and movies and TV. And I just think I was fascinated by it at a young age. I don't know what exactly sparked it, but I did do a lot of competitive horseback riding. So I feel like at a young age, I was getting to dress up and do, my mom would let me wear lipstick like when we would compete and stuff like that. So I think that must have been maybe where it stemmed from at a young age because my mom is not so much into beauty like I am, but she always supported me in it. So I've taught her a lot of things over the years about how to style her own hair and makeup and stuff like that. But I think in high school, like a lot of my friends on my cheerleading squad sort of like stimulated me being excited about getting dressed up. And so at 18, I went to cosmetology school in my small town in Indiana. And then at 20, I ended up moving to Los Angeles. So from 18 to 20, I was working as a hairstylist in a salon, and I was also going to college, majoring in theater. So I really started to learn about what it would feel like to be on a set, and what sort of that world looked like. And I had an awesome teacher in college in Indiana who really encouraged me to move to Los Angeles to pursue my dreams of working in television. So at the age of 20, just turning 21, I moved to Los Angeles and began my career as a hair and makeup artist. I went to another school in Los Angeles to get my sort of a degree. It's more of like a certificate, really, in like makeup and special effects makeup and all of that kind of stuff for film and television. So I did like a master's program in that and got my certificate. And then from there, I started working in independent films. And then shortly after, was fortunate enough to join the union, which is really hard to get into, which pretty much is like the gateway into getting into really big television shows and movies. You have to be a union member to participate and work on those types of shows. So from there, at a very young age, I got into the union. I was like, I didn't even know what I was really doing, but I just kept going and like was learning as I went along. And then I got into TV and I started doing show after show. And then in my late 20s is when I got Modern Family, which was a huge life changing moment. Of course, probably the biggest moment in my career. I was on that show for almost a decade until we finished just a few years ago. Then I'm now living in New York City because I worked as an ambassador for many cosmetic companies over the years, just promoting different brands. But Sisley Paris was always so kind to me and used me for lots of things, lots of video content. Like even through the pandemic, we were working together all the time as I was doing other TV shows. But they were always like so loyal to me. And so when they asked me to be their national artist, I of course said yes. And that's how I got to New York from LA because our headquarters for Sisley USA are here in New York City. So that's a quick in a nutshell of my career so far.
I love it. I love all of the different ways you were able to kind of learn about this work. And it's so interesting that you can do something that's like specifically for kind of TV set makeup, things like that. And your background in cosmetology, I can relate to being on the cheerleading squad and like makeup was life before the game. I didn't have your skills. I knew that I needed help.
Trust me, I didn't know what I was doing.
I was not helping people, I needed help. But yeah, I love that progression and kind of how your career has changed. And I would love to know, like, over that time, being somebody who's in the industry and working with so many different types of people in different capacities, from your perspective, what has changed in the beauty industry, like from the inside? I guess we'll start there. What evolution has taken place and the way we perceive beauty, or really how this industry, this huge machine, functions?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed significantly over the past 20 plus years that I've been in it. I think social media
Mhm.
has completely changed the whole game, right? When I was first, obviously doing this in my early 20s, I mean, there was no social media. There was Facebook-ish, like MySpace, I guess, but not anywhere like it is, of course, now. And I think when Instagram launched, was that 2013 maybe? It was
I think so.
right? Okay, so I remember joining, I was an early, like, member of Instagram, and I feel like almost nobody else in my industry was really doing it. Even actors, like, that were, on shows that I was on at that time, like, they were not really into it, and then all of a sudden, I feel like we went on summer break or something and came back, and it was like everybody was, into it, and I think that has changed a lot because everybody can see tutorials and things from all over the world, and people can express themselves, and just it's just really made so many people interested in beauty and just learning about it, like, from their home. And, like, people grow up in all different places and different cultures and different things, and before, like, unless you were able to have the money to come to a makeup school, like, in, say, Los Angeles, like me coming from a small town, it costs a lot of money to do that. But I think, like, now kids of that age, they can learn so much online, which is such a big change. I feel I'm learning too. Like, I'm constantly learning. I find myself learning so many techniques and from other artists, which is, I think it's just built like such a beautiful community in the beauty world. And of course the styles changes, like makeup contouring was like such a big thing, some years back. And now I feel like it's not as big, like we go through all of these different things. I think more like natural makeup is kind of more in now, just like enhancing your natural beauty. It kind of goes back and forth, right? All over the place. I'm always trying to follow the trends, like what's coming next with, all the fashion weeks and stuff like that. So I follow all of that. I always have. Like, that's kind of always been my source of what's next, is like what's happening on the runways and everything. That dates back to my teenage years for sure, when I was like obsessed with Vogue and all the 90s supermodels. But I feel like a lot of those looks are like coming back around, which I love, the hairstyles and stuff like that. So I would say the biggest change is social media would be my answer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense. I feel like social media, YouTube, those things have really democratized our access. I mean, to your point, so many things where we used to have to enroll in a program or kind of know somebody who knows somebody to get into a world. You can learn anything online now. And with AI, it's like a whole other level. People are using ChatGPT like a dictionary or something to get information. It's crazy and it's good. I mean, I think it's exciting that we have all of this access. And you mentioned like there's different trends or practices or traditions all around the world, and kind of opening that up and having a broader perspective of what beauty really means and how we can play with it and have fun with it and change things. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I think there's good and bad to all of it, right? But I think there's a lot of good, and AI, it's still like to be determined if this is going to be a scary thing for all of us or not. In some ways it is already, just with the fear of, artists and models and different people that are going to be out of work because of AI. So we don't know like where this is all going to go. It's crazy. It's a crazy time for sure.
I was talking to someone this morning. This is a tangent, but it relates to AI. I was talking to someone this morning, and I think there's a lot of excitement around AI and also a lot of fear for what you just mentioned, like from photography to copywriting to the beauty industry. And I haven't thought of that, but yeah, like this image generation is getting more and more sophisticated, and it feels like we're just at the beginning. So, as much as we want to be early adopters and embracing new technology, there's definitely this layer of fear and uncertainty for people. And this friend that I was talking to, she said that she's been studying the .com bubble a lot in conjunction with this. And I was like, wait a minute, that is so smart. And this is a very smart woman who I'm talking about. She always illuminates new things to me. And I just thought that was fascinating. She was like, we've been in situations like this before where there's this technology rush and it feels like this is going to be everything and things go really, really quickly and get really overinflated. And then in the .com world, there was a crash. So I don't know. I don't know what that means for either of us or our industries, but it's sort of interesting to think that way.
You're right. That is a good point. We'll see.
We'll see. And for us as humans, so we'll let the robots do whatever they will. You mentioned expression. And to me, that is really why this topic of beauty, hair, makeup, all of it is so interesting because I think we can get stuck in a place where we feel like this is vain or performative or, kind of scary to think about like, oh my gosh, we want to look perfect all the time. But I don't see it that way. Like it is something that many of us care about to some extent, whether you really enjoy these types of things or it's just something that you really have your 5-minute makeup routine on lock at this point. Either way, it is part of the way we express ourselves in the world. And I think most of us feel differently in the way we show up when our hair and makeup is on point from our perspective or it isn't. And this just happened to me yesterday where I was on my way somewhere and it was like hair wash day. I needed to, my hair was horrible, but I hadn't had a chance to wash yet. It's on the way from the gym and I ran into somebody and I was like, oh, like not right now. Dang it. This is not the moment. If you saw me in the morning, I would look totally different. So, it does have an impact on just the way we kind of exist in the world. Tell me more from your perspective, like beauty as part of self-expression. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like for me, like a signature red lip is something my friends know me for that. It's funny because one of my really close girlfriends from Los Angeles that I haven't seen in a while, but we are still obviously communicating quite often. We were talking about something the other day and she's like, Jess, you just got to show up with your signature red lip and like you're going to take over the room. Like we were talking about something that I was getting ready to go do and I was nervous about. And I was like, that's so cute that you say that because I've always kind of been like that girl. I'm not wearing red today. I'm wearing like a rose. So it's a little more natural today. But I do feel like my best, I think, when I'm in like a red lip. And I don't know, like, I think we all have that, our thing, right? Our hair, like some people's hair is like their thing, and it's how we feel our best and like want to show up and express ourselves, I guess, in that way. I have, a few different things that I like tricks up my sleeve for myself. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to look my best. Sometimes my husband would agree or not. He doesn't like a lot of makeup. He doesn't like a lot of like crazy hair or makeup. He's like more like all, very natural, but I always try to explain to him, I'm like, but this is like my thing. Like, I love makeup. I think men sometimes are like, oh, we can't kiss you if you have a red lip on, or whatever. But sometimes I save those red lip moments for a girls' night out or whatever. I think everybody needs something like where you can just be like, you know what, I can do this in 5 minutes and I'm going to feel really good before I walk out the door. Cause we don't always have all the time in the world to sit in 45 minutes to do makeup and hair and the whole thing. I have felt more comfortable with myself as I've gotten older too, like not being so made up all the time. I think also being like a late bloomer to getting in like a really good exercise routine, which I sadly like wasn't in as much until I moved to New York. You would think because I was in LA, I would be doing all of that more, but working in television is amazing, but it's very grueling with the hours. So I was never like on point with my exercise, but now I am, and I feel like I'm way more comfortable just being like barefaced, like no spray tan, no nothing. Like I just feel good about myself wearing nothing, like no makeup, no hair. So a few years ago, I would have been like humiliated. I'd be like, I don't want anybody to see me like that. But now I feel like I don't know if it's age or just the endorphins of exercise, like making me feel better. I don't know, but that's helped a lot for sure.
I think it's all those things. I actually think about this a lot and talk about this with my friends. I'm 38 and, I have friends a lot of different ages, but when I'm with kind of my close friends that are late 30s, early 40s, I feel like everyone is sort of in this place in life where we want to be like leveling up in a lot of different ways. We're talking about quality over quantity when it comes to the clothes in our closets and the friends we spend time with and the decor we bring into our home and, just like this new level of intention. And I feel like that comes into our self care and beauty routines and like where we're getting our hair done and the products that we're buying and all of that too. And I've been wondering, like, is it because we're just at an age where we have money? Maybe, in college, we're usually not sitting around like, well, where are we buying our products? It's like, whatever my mom gave me for Christmas. I don't know. I can't afford any products. So I think that's probably part of it, right? Like we have the means to be intentional with some of these choices. But I also think like, do we just know ourselves better? And it's like, this is the standard I'm setting for myself. And part of that can be that I feel incredible when I don't wear makeup on Mondays or, that I don't have to rush home from the gym and like put on a full face. Or part of it could be that I am giving myself 40 minutes before I go to dinner with my husband to get ready really intentionally and do a little bit more than I do for a work day. Like whatever that routine change is, I feel like it's, I don't know, like a coming home to ourselves versus trying to be someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. I think that's so true. I'm 42, so I just turned 42 a week and a half ago. So
Happy birthday.
thank you. It's like hard to believe. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. But I feel great. Like I feel better, I think, than I ever thought. I was like terrified to turn 40. I remember being terrified to turn 30. Like I was like crying, thinking, oh my God, I'm 30. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy to think like that just was like a flash. But yeah, it's just gets better and better, I think. You take care of yourself and, things start to make sense more, I think, as you get older. And so it's a good thing.
I agree. Every time I've had a woman on this podcast who's 50 or 60, they tell me it gets better and better still. So we're great. Good news. We're on the right track. Okay. So that being said, in our personal lives, I feel almost like fangirl immature to ask you questions about celebrity, but I also feel like I would be missing an opportunity if I didn't because you are a celebrity artist. Like, how does this play out in the world of celebrity? Like, do you feel like there's also an evolution where people become more comfortable with themselves, maybe as they age or get more established? Or what is it like to kind of have one foot in that world all of the time?
I would say celebrities, I mean, they're human, right? So it's like they're under such a microscope, many of them that are very famous. And I think it is hard. I think they face a lot of challenges that we do, but times 10 almost because they're, splashed across the front page of something or gossip column or whatever. So I think I've seen both, right? It's like you see celebrities that are embracing their age and they're like, I don't care, like this is me, like I'm not going to worry about it if I get a bad paparazzi photo. But then there's others that, really take it to heart and it's hurtful, and so I've definitely seen both. But I think the most successful celebrities that I've worked with, or just, people that are really grounded, are usually pretty cool about everything. They accept what they look like at a certain age and, or just embrace it. We help each other. A lot of times they'll lean on us and hair and makeup. Obviously, we're the closest to them. We see them with no makeup on a lot of the times, obviously, when they walk in the mornings. And they really do kind of lean on us, like to give them tips and like make them feel their best and make recommendations and all that kind of stuff. But, when you develop a close relationship with a celebrity, they really have helped me too, like with my self-esteem and like helping me feel good about myself, So I've had a lot of really great experiences with most everybody I've worked with. I've been so lucky. Haven't had any like horror stories. I don't have any to share. People always ask me, I'm like, I really don't. I mean, the cast of Modern Family was like probably the best cast of my whole career. I've had so many really good shows. I mean, that one I have to say is the best, So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Sophia. I feel like she's always coming in with the hot tips, She always knows the latest and greatest in beauty. So that was always fun to be around her every day.
That's so cool. I mean, it's fun to hear that because I can imagine that your relationship with your clients is extremely personal. I mean, makeup, hair, it is, for many of us, it feels like the most vulnerable position. Even at a hair appointment, I always think you come out of the bowl and like I do my makeup before I get my hair done because I know I'm going to be staring at a mirror and you look like this like wet cat, sitting there just like in your hands.
You got to do a full face before you go to the hair salon for sure. I know it's something about a lot of the lighting, I feel like in hair salons sometimes it's so overhead. I mean, because we have to see as artists, we have to see to cut, but it's like for you to look in the mirror, sometimes it's not the best lighting. And it's, yeah, I totally know that feeling of coming out of the bowl with like the towel on your head and you're like, oh my gosh, the cape on. Where did this go wrong?
But then you have the transformation at the end and you're like, "Ah, again, like, this is why I trust you and I need you," you know? It's such an intimate thing, and yeah, I think it makes sense what you said that whether you're a celebrity or not, I mean, we're all people. I've never been someone who's overly immersed in celebrity culture, but I can only imagine, I mean, in many ways, it looks incredibly hard to me. Like, I know how I feel when somebody judges me or even if I get like a troll comment for this podcast, which has happened, and I'll say the first time it happened, I felt like, oh my God, I'm famous because I already have a troll, which was sort of cool in a horrible way. But yeah, like the parade of that, I think it would be incredibly challenging in so many ways. So it's amazing to have those relationships and that personal connection and support each other. And I mean, we're all just looking to feel confident, feel our best, and have people we can trust to help us do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, totally.
Okay, speaking of judgment, even though that's a weird transition because I don't want this topic to be riddled with judgment. You and I are both child free by choice.
Yes.
And I just was reminded of this question. I don't know if you've ever gotten this question like, what do you do with all of your time? You know, that's something that's asked of me. Like, "What do you do with all your time if you don't have kids?" And, you know, I've seen that question in movies, and another child-free person I really admire just posted that on Instagram, and, you know, we can be annoyed about it or whatever, but I do think there's a reality. We can at least allocate our time differently. When we decide not to have kids, there is a space in our life that is traditionally reserved for raising kids, and I do think we have some freedom to be really intentional about how we want to spend that time learning about ourselves, learning about others. And I think learning about ourselves through this lens of how we do want to feel and how we want to be seen by others in the world can be a really cool thing, like a cool perk of us living child free. So, as much as you want to, will you share kind of your perspective of child free life?
Yeah, definitely. It's been by choice. In my career, I have felt so fulfilled and so busy. Like it kind of just happened this way. Like I never had this like burning desire to be a mother. Like, I mean, besides to my two cats, I love them and they are my babies. But, I think I've had such fulfillment with working in television and all the things, that I've done in my career. And I definitely don't really have that much spare time. When I have had that question, I'm like, well, I'm actually like really busy. Like, I don't know how I would ever have had time to have a child. You know what I mean? That's kind of part of why I sort of didn't, because I just don't. I'm so career driven. I don't know how I would be able to do both. And working in entertainment industry and then now my current position that I have with Sisley Paris as their national artist, I'm on a plane like at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, sometimes three times a month. It just depends like on the month. You know what I mean? Events that I have that are across Canada and North America. I go all the way to Hawaii, like, I'm all over the place with this job, so there would be no time for me to have a child, and I'm totally happy with that, and I feel good. My husband and I have such a wonderful relationship, and we travel, like, we do, lots of trips together, and we've traveled, gosh, I don't even know how many, maybe 14 countries together now at this point in our relationship. We've been together 7 years. We've done a lot of traveling, it's just so fulfilled. I feel great, like, with what we have. So, yeah, I love my friends' children. I am so happy. I'm an aunt, and I have a niece who is 25, and she's, like, kinda like a daughter to me too. And so I feel really, like, fulfilled in that way. This is a great life path that I've chosen for myself, so I'm happy about it.
Beautiful. I love to hear that. I feel similar. I mean, our paths are different, but I relate to so much of what you said. And for one, like I decided before I was really working in a serious career that I just didn't want to be a parent. But as life has unfolded, I agree. Like, where is the time? You know, you fill the time with other things, with additional work and career expansion and hobbies and volunteering. And like, there's so much we can do. And I love just hearing from other women who are child free by choice and very fulfilled. That can sound like such a simple thing, but a huge reason I wanted to even do this in the first place is I felt like when I look around, there aren't that many models of just happy, well adjusted, whole women who are living child free. We don't see it that much in the movies and TV, often in our personal circles. And, this element of almost aspiration, which every time I think about that word, I get tripped up in my head like, "Oh my god, that sounds like ego." Like, what am I trying to be, some aspirational role model? Like, ugh, ick, not really. But I do wanna highlight people who are doing this and just, like, having fun along the way. That's aspirational to me as a fellow child-free person. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, I'm at the age now where hopefully people will stop like asking the questions. But again, I mean, I'm 42. Thanks to my skincare, I look a little younger, maybe. People might think I'm a little younger. So they're thinking, like, and my husband and I only got married a couple years ago. So, of course, it's like, oh, when are you guys going to have kids? Or, it's not too late. It's probably not too late, but I'm just not interested. Some people will look at me puzzled, and I'm just like, I just change the subject. I don't know. I think some people culturally, like they're raised that way and it's not their fault. They're not understanding. Like, how come you don't want to? What do you mean you don't want to? Like, I don't want to. Like, I'm good. I'm happy. Everything's good.
And I don't want to is reason enough, Like, that can be a whole reason, and, yeah, I'm sure so many people listening right now are, like, nodding their head and raising their hand like, "Yeah, we are familiar with the questions and the confusion that sometimes follows when we answer," but I think it's important to highlight that this is normal and fun and exciting and, just bring those voices together.
Exactly. And I'm not worried about who's going to take care of me when I'm old. I'll be fine. I have my niece. First of all, she will never let me go, like living some crazy place. But, that wasn't the case. I know that I'll be good. Planning for my future. My husband and I are going to be fine. It's all good.
Yes, we have so many other things. I mean, for one, like money, we can save money, like that's one thing that's necessary no matter who is kind of signing the things. And yeah, like just we have whole communities. I mean, you mentioned being an aunt and having friends who have kids. Like it doesn't mean that we have no motherly role in the world to not have kids of our own. So I think that's another common question that we all love. But, it's such a simple answer. Like we know other people.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And I feel like I'm meeting more and more people like us, which is really great. I have some friends, very close friends of mine too, that are like us. So it's comforting and nice. Everybody should feel good about whatever your choices are. I think it's amazing. People want to have children. I support it. I mean, I'm always right there at everybody's birthday parties and baby showers and everything. I love it. I think it's wonderful. It just was never for me. So
Yes, absolutely. It is wonderful. It's not about comparison, it's about possibility. Everybody can choose their path. Love it. Okay. I need to ask you beauty tip questions because again, I feel like I would regret it if I didn't. You do look amazing. Not that it's ever about comparison to whatever age we are, but you do look amazing. And we met at an event for Sisley Paris, and it was amazing. I was drawn to you immediately because the way that you shared not just your love for the brand, but I felt like you just brought such positivity to this industry, and it wasn't about being performative or trying to like cover ourselves up, right? It was more about this self-expression, even in the way you were sharing that first night. Understanding that you are the national artist for that brand, for those of us listening, how important are the products that we're using? I feel like there's two sides. There's like, what do we do? Like what do we do with our hair and makeup? And then also, what do we use to do that?
right. Very good question. So I think you should definitely research brands that you're using, make sure that as best as you can see, the products are clean or at least as much as they possibly can be clean. Our line is phyto based, essential oil based. That makes me feel good about putting the products on my skin and what I'm absorbing into my body. And the makeup, the hair care, everything, the hair care sulfate free. That's like a very important thing that you should always look out for in hair care. You never want to have sulfates in your hair care because it can strip your hair color. It can just leave buildup on your hair, like and making your hair look dull. And we don't realize, like, why doesn't it have luster? And it's because of the sulfates, the secret sulfates that are in there. So you want to try to find something that you're using that's always like free of all of the bad stuff, right? With skincare, I think, everybody's different, right? Everybody's price point is different, like what you can afford. I always tell people, if you can afford a moisturizer, like I don't care where it's from, as long as you can find the best, clean ingredients, even if it's at Target or anything like that, like always use a moisturizer and an eye cream starting at a young age. That will transform yourself, and sunscreen for sure. Like these are things that are just basic, but I feel a lot of young people don't realize that. And then they get into their 30s maybe and they're like, oh my gosh, of course you can start at any age, right? But it's like starting young and really protecting your skin against, the sun and all that kind of stuff will really help in the aging process, and just, age gracefully, age healthy, so you don't worry about skin cancer or anything like that. But yeah, I think just getting on a routine that suits you. And like I said, just at least start with a moisturizer. This is what I try to tell my own mother. She doesn't listen to me either. I've given her all the fancy products in the world. I'm like, just please use them. Like my husband too, he's gotten a lot better. And he's 10 years older than me. And his skin looks, I would say, pretty amazing. But he's pretty diligent about his routine. So I'm proud of him. I've got him on a pretty good step by step. And I always try to say, keep it simple as possible, so you'll actually do it. Because when you put too many steps into somebody's, skincare routine or hair care routine or anything like that, I feel like people give up and they don't want to do it. So keep it simple, find the things that really work for you and stick with it.
Okay, that's good advice. I think we need to know ourselves and what we're stepping into. I just clicked on a thing again the other day because this stuff just sucks you in, right? Like you see somebody, this was a celebrity. Well, I'll just say it was Goop, Gwyneth. And I'm in my era where I'm like, I have become more and more obsessed with her. She's amazing. And I saw, of course, an ad for like Gwyneth's skincare routine, and you cannot help but click, right? Like she looks incredible. Of course. Like just break it down for me.
Looks great. She's like beautiful.
So beautiful. So anyway, I was looking at it and I forget how many steps it is, like 7, 9, something like that. And I know I'm not going to do it. Like, not only would it be an investment, then it's going to sit there. There is no way I'm going to do that every single morning. So, and then I would just feel bad about it, right? I would feel like, oh my God, I spent all this money. I'm not even doing it. I'll never be a Gwyneth, which is just a toxic loop. So I like what you just said of really understanding, like, know yourself. Maybe if we need to add things in that we're not doing now, like an eye cream or whatever, like we can work on that maybe one thing at a time instead of being like starting tomorrow. I'm changing everything about the way I get ready.
Yeah, because you won't follow through with it. This is what I tell clients that I meet, as a national artist for Sisley. Like, I try to be honest with them. I'm like, look, what is your routine now? Like, how fast do you get ready in the morning? How much time are you giving yourself in the evening? Like, these are questions I always ask someone before I start, going over with them what I think they should start with, especially if they're new to the brand, for example, just using Sisley as an example. Like, I don't want to overwhelm somebody, because then, like you said, you'll spend a lot of money and then the products sit there and then they expire and then you're bummed because you didn't do it. But if you start out slower and then eventually you can be like a Gwyneth, you know what I mean? Because I think I'm at the Gwyneth stage now because I work in luxury skincare and hair care currently. So, of course, I'm trying everything. And I always have as an artist for all these years working in television, using all of these products that were around me all the time. I really became curious, at a young age. But now I feel like I've got it down where I'm like, okay, like I have my double cleanse that I do. I'm doing my preparatory lotion, I'm doing my anti-aging lotion, my eye cream, my serums, my scalp serum for my hair, like all of these things. I'm doing all of it. But now just a nice quiet self-care time for me in the evenings. And that's really when I concentrate, is before bed. It's just relaxing for me. So I've gotten into the routine, but I didn't start out like that. I was like a moisturizer and that would be it, like 10 years ago, probably. I wasn't doing anything else. The eye cream I started incorporating like probably then, I would say off and on, but I've been a lot better. Eye cream is one thing that I will say has really helped me, I think, age gracefully.
Okay, I'm making a mental note of that, like, do not skip it, and I aspire to that luxurious routine, not just because of all the products and stuff, but what you mentioned of enjoying the process, and again, child-free people, I'm not doing bath time for another human, like, I could do this, and someone told me once to use it as, like, meditative time because I was also saying I'm terrible at meditating, and it's ridiculous. Like I pretend like I don't have time when realistically you could do it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. I could fit that in. But Yes, I like the idea of making it like a joyful experience and not waiting until I'm so freaking tired walking up the stairs and like, ugh, just like get the makeup off and crawl into bed. So no, I aspire to that and I'll take the eye cream tip for sure.
Yes, good.
What is scalp serum?
We make 2 actually in the collection, but one is for, like, more of an itchy, dry scalp, and then the other one is it's a fortifying, densifying serum, so it's incredible. It just helps with the overall vitality of your hair and scalp. So it's like a magical potion that you rub in every night. I recommend everyone do it every night, at least for a few months, and then you can kinda do it 2 or 3 times a week, but it just makes the overall quality of your hair and scalp, like, amazing. It's like an anti-ager for your scalp. So it is very good because we don't think about our scalp sometimes, right? It's an extension of our face and it's aging as well. So we want to keep our hair looking young and it starts at the follicle level, So you have to remember this part back here. You got to give it some love.
I have never thought about my scalp as related to beauty routine at all.
It's very important.
I bet there are a lot of cases where I was just talking to a friend about this the other day and she was like, "Oh, I'm just like never going to have shiny hair." Like I bet there are a lot of cases where we have some kind of symptom and we think it's just like, "Well, this is how my scalp is. This is how my eyelids are. This is how my hair is, whatever." There could be a change, if we found the right thing for us.
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay, related to Sicily, I know it's luxury, but for those listening that maybe you want to treat yourself or just embrace, go to the Jess level. We're not going to say the Gwyneth level because Jess is even better. If you had a product where you were like, if you're only going to get one thing from the line, this would be it. Do you have a hero product like that?
Well, it's tough because we have skincare, we have makeup, we have hair care, and we have fragrance. So I'll pick skincare. My hero product, I think everyone should have is All Day, All Year. It's an anti-aging cream that protects against, external aggressors and pollution and everything like that. It's such a great product, especially living in a big city. I don't leave the house without it on. And it's for the daytime only. You don't need it at night, but it goes under makeup and it is incredible. Like, I have a lot of celebrity clients that are like sworn by that product too. I knew of the product, right? But like this was before I was the national artist for them. I knew of the product and I had tried it. But then a few of my celebrity clients, they were obsessed with it. And when they found out I was working with the brand, they were like, oh my gosh, like that's my favorite product. I'm like, okay, I need to start using that every day too. And so I have been in the last few years. And I've seen such a difference like in my skin and now I cannot live without that one. So that's a big one. I might have even mentioned that the night we met. I think somebody asked me top 5 and that was in there for sure. And the scalp serum would be another one. I love the hairspray that Sisley Paris makes. It's probably the best hairspray I've ever used in my life. It's hard to find a good hairspray. So the one that we make is pretty next level incredible. So that's 3, sorry, not 1.
That's okay. We'll take it. We'll take the inside scoop. I was taking notes, and it is hard to find a great hairspray, especially one that's like remotely clean. And I don't even fully understand the world of clean beauty. Actually, yeah, can you tell us? You mentioned sulfates, that's helpful. Is there anything else that's like a flagship ingredient to avoid?
Gosh, I'm terrible with ingredients. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I'm so bad with ingredients, besides the sulfate, I know that one. With Sicily's hairspray, for example, it's phyto based. Phyto means plant, and essential oil base is how they create the products. And for the hairspray, it is made with a plant based alcohol. So there is no synthetic alcohol in the hairspray, which is why it makes it so nice and it doesn't dry your hair out because anything synthetic is going to dry out the hair, for example. So that was really like important to me. And I love telling people that because a lot of people are afraid of hairspray because it makes their hair stiff and dry. But that's what is so beautiful about this one is that it doesn't have that ingredient in it. So it really like stands apart from any other hairspray I've ever used. And it just is flexible and it makes your hair beautiful and bouncy and shiny. And yeah, it's a star product for sure that we make.
Okay. I will be getting it. It's on my list now. It's on my list of notes.
So you got to go try it. It's so good.
I will, and I'll report back here.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so those are super helpful from like a product kind of tools, tips perspective. Before I let you go, for everyone listening, what mindset shifts do you have for us? Like if somebody is like, okay, this sounds interesting. I do want to level up or kind of just treat myself a little bit differently or maybe a little bit better in the world of beauty or whatever that means to any individual. what is a mindset shift for those of us who want to do this more, but we also don't want to become obsessive about trends and perfectionism? What do you share with your clients to kind of help us enjoy this process?
Like I said earlier, I find time for yourself, like where it's like a self-care situation. I think that gets us more excited to do it. And again, like start small. I see this all the time because I work in this world where people will oversell people on too many steps, too many products. And I get the reason behind it, and of course, a lot of these things that you are being sold are amazing, right? But it's overwhelming for people because they're like, wait, I have to do 7 serums and then the moisturizer. You know what I mean? It's too much. So I always say, what can you handle? Like, how much time can you give yourself? Like on a Sunday night, where you're going to do all the things like masks or, hair masks, all these things. Or what's your night time frame? Like, how much time can you give yourself in the evening? Can you give yourself 5 minutes? Great. You can wash your face, you can add these 3 steps and you're good, and then you can just build upon that so it doesn't feel intimidating, because beauty can feel intimidating, and then doing your makeup can feel intimidating. And I always say less is more. It's like a good concealer, a good tinted moisturizer, or a nice base like of some kind, blush, a good mascara, a good lipstick. I mean, you're pretty good. Like, you don't have to go crazy. We get overwhelmed when you walk into a department store or anything like that. You see, oh my gosh, look at all of these different things. Like, why is this one better than the other? And I think it's just like, just find your color palette. Like, for me, I have light eyes. Like, I like to wear bronzy eyeshadows. I can just pretty much live off of like one or two. I have 500 palettes, but if I had to, I could live off of like two, like colors, honestly, like a lighter and a darker. I mean, that's pretty much what I do anyways. Of course, it's my job as well, so I wanna have, like, so much stuff. But even in my own personal makeup, like, at home, like, that I don't use ever, sometimes I find too much because I end up gravitating towards just a couple of those key products? So you just kind of find what works for you and, like, what's your look, and then you stick with it, and then it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, keep it going? You can switch it up, you can switch a lipstick up here and there, but, you know, don't get too overwhelmed. I feel like it's supposed to be fun. So enjoy.
Perfect advice. Jess, we have talked about self expression, we've talked about personal fulfillment, and we have talked about child free life in this conversation, all related to you and your expertise in the land of beauty. So, as a final question to you, how has choosing to live a child free life gave you expansion or just shaped the way that you can have the fulfillment and the joy in your day to day that you want?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whatever I put my mind to, I can do. And my husband is the same. And we're both just working together all the time of how we can build our lives together and the places we want to travel to and the things we want to do, where we see ourselves in 5 years from now, if we're still going to be living in New York City, or we have dreams of moving to Europe. We always have, like, since we've met 7 years ago, we've talked about it, and like eventually it's going to happen. We really want to do it. I don't know, like the world is our oyster, I guess, with this, and we can just kind of find what we want to do each day. And if we want to wander and go somewhere and not come home all day long, like, so be it, or fly somewhere next weekend. And it just really feels like free. And of course, we have the responsibility of the cats, so we can't just take off on a whim at any point. But I obviously very much enjoy them, and I'm so grateful to have them. It's really just feels like freedom, which is something that I'm really grateful for, and I feel very happy knowing that I have that option.
Very well said. Love it. Jess, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, for everyone who wants to learn more about you or Sicily, where is the best place for people to connect with you?
You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is just Jess Elbaum. So Jess and then my last name. And that's me. You can message me there if you have any questions about anything. Follow me. I'll write you guys back. I'm pretty good about checking my DMs and stuff like that. I share a lot of beauty tips on my Instagram and on the sisleyparis.com website. You'll find me there quite often. I'm doing a lot of master classes there and sharing a lot of information there as well on their national website. So I'm there as well if you ever want to check it out.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad to know
Thank
you.
you. I'm so glad to know you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Now I want to hear what you learned. DM me on Instagram at Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman or leave a review with your top takeaway. These ratings really do make a difference. If you're not a member of the Curious Life Club yet, you are invited. Visit CuriousLifeOfAChildFreeWoman.com to join the conversation, share suggestions, and be first to know the next curious topic. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.